I think that it takes a long time to build an actor.
I start with the self, with the individual.
The actor has to understand why people do what they do.
What's your job? What's the actor's job?
And it's all about responding to another person, connecting to another person, being there at that moment.
You've got to think of yourself as an athlete. If you don't think of yourself as an athlete, you're not going to make it on the stage.
What would you like to try? What would you like to do? It's a kind of laboratory.
I think that we produce actors, I think we produce theater artists.
It's very important to me that MFAs who come here are passionate about the art form and willing to look at the profession as something larger than themselves that they want to serve as well as their own technique. By passion, I mean that they have a need for the theater, and they realize that what they're bringing to the theater is what we want to see.
An MFA at the University of Illinois is a commitment to being able to explore in a much deeper, meaningful way your development as an artist, as well as being able to have time and energy and focus given to what you're passionate about. That doesn't exist in every MFA program.
You guys understand this thing about sharing yourself with the character? Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes? Feel a difference? Yeah.
It is a deep training program. There is no doubt about that.
The last step you got to take is you got to take it from just being Howard to the way Richard feels about things through Howard.
Yeah. This is a place that really, I think, is going to take you to somewhere you haven't been before in terms of self-exploration. Definitely take you somewhere that's going to constantly challenge you.
I'm not going to marry someone because they say you got to marry me.
Get on your voice, say it again.
No, I'm not going to marry someone because they say you got to marry me, Howard. I'm not gonna.
When I look at a student who's coming here, I think, what could I do to help their range? Or how can we as a team give them more skills? And how can I have them maybe see themselves in different ways so then they can feel free to explore lots of different other things that they're not exploring?
So he's going to let go of jazz hands. He's going to find something else other than this to communicate.
And then grapple with them for 3 years to try to get it.
Graduate program here is a 6-semester program that's split equally between pure skill learning and more what I call developmental work. And basically what I'm interested there is teaching them to how to very much be in the moment and respond to the situations, and also start to build an ensemble for the next 3 years in the program.
There's a large amount of moving forward as a human being that happens during that time, in tandem with the development of their skills and a deeper understanding of what it means to be in action.
Good, shake it out.
It's got to be an actor who I can sense that there's some world knowledge they're carrying with them, because then I know that in rehearsal I can make a reference to something and they'll get it, as opposed to somebody who doesn't read, who isn't aware of what the issues are in the world.
What I really want to see is a student who has a curiosity about life, about themselves, about the world that they see around them. Maybe a curiosity about the relationship that they've got with the audience that's in front of them, so that the whole process of what we do is about exploring those things.
I want to see what your initiative is and what you are willing to bring to the classroom. It's what happens in class that's the most important thing. In my Shakespeare classes, I'm working very hard to get our students to understand how to fill heightened language. It's an old saw, but I believe it's true that if you can do Shakespeare well, you can do anything.
That when he pleases again to be himself, he shall... Wow, don't even know the mouth. Good, that was much better. I still want your physicality.
A lot of young actors are simply afraid of Shakespeare, so we find the way into the language and build an appreciation of the language to begin with before we ever get on our feet and try to act with it.
It's so easy with complicated text to just steam ahead. and lose the fact that there has to be a stimulus.
I can write very like my lady, your niece. On a forgotten matter, we can hardly make distinction of our hands. You shall think, by the letters that I will drop, that they're from my lady, and that she's in love with him. Oh, 'twill be sport royal, I warrant you. I will plant you two, and let the fool make a third wherein he shall find the letters. Observe his construction of it.
In terms of Shakespeare and elevated text, I really concentrate on action. What is the action of it? What does this word really mean in this context right now, in this action that I'm playing as a human being in this moment? And then how can I physicalize it?
That Angelo's a murderer is't not strange. That Angelo's an adulterous thief.
If you can master this very rigid form, that then can be broken up into a number of different things and used along with everything you brought to the table.
They learn how to see the space, they learn how to see the transitions, recognizing the movement of the story through the text. That's an incredibly invaluable tool to have just as a professional actor.
So that even with the discipline of a heightened text, they know how to improvise moments around that so that they surprise themselves even.
I think it takes on this vitality and it makes you really hungry for meaning that is never really complete.
I believe in a strong understanding of the physiological process of the creation of voice, where your voice comes from, who are you vocally, and how are you limiting yourself to the voice you have and the way you speak dialectically, all those things.
Myself and Robert can really just work on just pure basic technique, because every single semester we also have this class called Dynamics, which is a 20-25 minute movement sequence and then a 20-25 minute vocal sequence, which is based on Alexander technique. We have 2 Alexander training programs in town. The Alexander training is becoming an integral part of the physical training program. It's really training to be very controlled with what they're doing, but being released in that control. This is your alignment, this is how you move, or this is how you use your voice and whatever.
Hello! Hello! And this time scooping it under and sending it a hello! Powerful and effective speaking for the theater is a real muscular thing that the body has to engage in, and the students have a vocabulary to really be able to identify, well, that happened in my acting because of the work I'm doing on my body in class, or the work I'm doing on my voice in class. Those connections are constantly being made and talked about in the classroom.
We spend 2 semesters on stage combat. We focus on sword play. Teaching stage combat is actually an acting class. It's just that we're acting now with swords. How do I then use sword play as a dialogue in this scene?
Is it because of that Jew at the party?
We will always do unarmed combat, hand-to-hand, kicks, punches, slaps, falling, all of that stuff. Even if you don't end up being in a show doing stage combat, there's something about having that on your resume that tells a director when they look, you're a physical actor and you can handle physical, big physical things.
Next, let's take Blanche's tripping moments.
You can be aggressive, you can fall, you can throw, you can jump, you can do all these things, and that's a vital thing to have.
The number of skills-based courses that are offered at the university are phenomenal, between voice and diction, between dialect work, between movement, between stage combat.
It isn't the separation of those things, but it's the integration. How do you then take what you're learning in class and integrate it into your work on stage?
That's what can make a difference. Being rigorously prepared for every audition, every rehearsal, every class.
Rehearsal is class here. I firmly believe that, and the students know it. Rehearsal is never a respite from the training. They're always in training.
Where are you going, Howard?
Movement, breath, sound, articulation, they're all one big thing that are the acting.
Good. Keep your feel, stay on your voice.
Honey, talk sense.
The fun part of rehearsal is an evaluation of those choices. What matters now is this training and what challenges I can give myself.
I think students, after spending time there, realize that theater is an actual art form and that plays actually have something to say about the larger world.
But then they have to realize they're going into a production, and a production is a different animal than a studio.
The primary purpose of production is training.
Can I have one of my ASMs on headset, please? Thank you.
When you're working in production, you really learn how to be in a play.
Test firing Jade's weapon on stage.
You need me off stage?
How to take those skills that you're learning in your skill class, the acting class, all the work that you're doing in class, and be able to try it in production, where there's a deadline and there's going to be an audience coming, and we want you to be able to do what you intend and develop your training while you're in a play.
I know that the thing that I'm teaching is being worked on at a rehearsal that I'm not present at. I know it's being talked about by the director of the play that I'm not working on.
Certainly when I direct, I'll even say, this is a training moment. This is about operating practices. This is about your understanding of what your job is right here. And sometimes I'll just be working the scene.
And I love the rehearsal setting because the BFAs contribute greatly to the MFA population. You find yourself acting alongside someone who's been in training with your teachers for 4 years. And sometimes I think it can be really confronting.
The graduate students are often challenged by the energy and the eagerness of undergraduates, and the undergraduates are enriched by the experience. And I'm impressed every night to see a graduate student playing a heavy, dramatic, and intimate scene with an undergraduate actress. They both rise to the occasion. It's exciting work.
What I saw in the rehearsal process was the phenomenal support that they gave each other, stressing again and again what an ensemble really means, which in turn created moments on stage.
It's fairly easy to get inspiration here. We've got some beautiful facilities here. We've got everything we need to make beautiful things happen.
First of all, Granite, we get performances here that Chicago doesn't get. You know, you can see amazing theater, dance, music especially, all sorts of things in this building. It's just quite astonishing.
When I see music, when I see the Russian theater company do their version of Chekhov that we as students are doing in our class at the moment, and we get to sit in and watch some of their rehearsals, I draw a lot of my inspiration from that.
What are we drawing inspiration from if it's not the stuff we see going on in the world that we think, oh, I can use that? Certainly Champaign-Urbana affords you that opportunity.
A student who comes here with a real curiosity about what's going on can fill their time very easily with inspiration and with exciting stuff going on outside the Krannert Center. Of course, they're going to spend most of their time inside the great ship of the Krannert Center.
We have outstanding world-class facilities, but it's the people and the work that happens within that facility that matters. The dedication of the faculty is second to none.
Let's do a few more, okay? Okay?
We have virtually the ideal faculty in virtually every one of the positions that we have. A faculty that works together synergistically, that has a wide variety of viewpoints but respects the viewpoints of the other faculty members.
The great thing about our faculty is that we're all working on acting. I teach acting and I'm working on voice and speech and movement. The voice and speech person is working on acting and movement. The movement person is working on acting and action and vocal release. So we're all working on acting.
I feel like I'm surrounded by an amazing group of teacher artists, all of whom are devoted to the student.
We work to remind each other as a faculty and to remind the students that we're all working on transforming them and transforming the theater in each class.
There's no doubt that we ready our students for that, not just through the training they get in terms of the classroom work, the actor training, but through the number of experiences that they get with guests that we work hard to bring in on a regular basis every year, from artistic directors to casting directors to working actors and actresses.
We are bringing more professional actors into the program from time to time to act as models for the students.
We bring down people a lot to meet you early and often. We frequently have casting agents come and develop relationships with you, see your work as it grows.
Not only are they getting our view, but they're getting the viewpoint from objective people out in the profession. Erica Daniels at Steppenwolf, Bob Mason at Chicago Shakespeare, Adam Belcourt at the Goodman Theater, as well as Pat McCorkle in New York.
I audition the actors, I work with them, I talk to them about their materials, their selection, and really what is expected in a professional audition. They're students who know what it takes to be a serious actor, what the profession demands of them.
I'm a director out in the world, and I'm going to hire the person that I know can do the job.
It's all about being hired. It's all about getting the job. I always think of an actor as a small business, and the actor is the CEO of that business.
My part of all of this puzzle is really the business side of it all. I have to be able to measure someone's value as an artist, but then I'm there to take that artistry and make it work in the business. I think it allows you more ability to compete in the bigger pool of professional trained actors.
Professional training implies and demands professional contacts, not only for the practical sense of getting a job after you're here, but also to continue to have a sense of what's going on right now in the theater.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cranard Center for the Performing Arts.
There is nothing in the world that you could find in New York or Chicago that you can't find in some way here.
I was shocked at the amount of inspiration there is on the campus outside of this building.
This place that we're in today, the Spurlock Museum, which is literally across the street from the Cranard Center where all our classes are, I felt like a kid in a candy store just today. This is a tremendous resource, certainly for design inspiration and certainly for getting a sense of period for actors.
Because Champaign-Urbana is a sort of a cultural haven in the midst of the cornfield. People talk about the fact that we're equidistant between Chicago and St. Louis. We're just an hour and a little bit from Indianapolis.
I've worked a lot in Chicago, I've worked in New York, I've worked on the West Coast, I've worked all throughout the Midwest. But I actually like the quietness of this town because it's both quiet and exciting at the same time. There's always something going on.
There's a lot of resources here with the Art Museum and the Performing Arts Center and amazing libraries and great farmers market, wonderful diversity of restaurants and stores and everything. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff here, but it's great that they don't have as many distractions as they might in New York or Chicago, that they're not going to be running off to an agent while they're trying to rediscover something about themselves as an artist.
There are a lot of people being artists in this town. That's inspiring. That's inspiring for our students. I moved here from New York City and I love it. I got here and I thought I could be here. This community, this building, this faculty, I could do this. Because the richness of it and the possibility of where I would go as a teacher and an artist was huge.
You meet people in an MFA program who will be your best friends for the rest of your life because you've got that shared background.
Those are the most valuable assets I've had in my life. Without those relationships, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the life that I'm enjoying.
It's about finding that quality in you that is going to be useful to you in your life as an actor.
If the reason that you want to get an MFA is because you want to be not just a better actor, but a better artist, then this is a good place to start that work.
Our mission, in fact, is to improve the American theater.
Transform the American theater, one actor at a time. I think the Master of Fine Arts is the beginning of something. When our students leave here, they understand that. They know they have things that are missing, but they know where to look because they've been looking for 3 years about where to go to provide those things. That leads to the development of the artist in a profound way.
The student that does best comes in with a very open slate and says, I'm going to use every single moment of my day to use these 3 years to the best effect.
You will never have 3 protected years of extraordinary intensity in your work. You'll never have it again.
And that's an amazing atmosphere to be in, that you can walk in and go, okay, let's do this. This is fantastic. Let's go there. We're ready to do the work.
And in order to do that, we're not only training the student for his or her individual needs, but we're looking to what the American theater needs. Intelligent, curious, excited, enlivened, physically expressive, vocally expressive actors who can transform themselves from an actor who is good to an actor who is great.
Thank you.